Coming up, I'm going to give you 6.5 signs that you should avoid a job if you see these in an interview. And then 43% of Americans don't feel connected. The Bourne Conspiracy. Did Matt Damon dupe us? Let's go. Helping you win at work and in life by coaching you to have the competitive edge to make more money and experience more meaning in your work. Okay, so this is one of the craziest, most attractive, kind of wild, different rules as it relates to the job market. It's still a job seekers market. People are making, on average, 14% more in their pay when they switch jobs. But you're having to deal with all this artificial intelligence crap. You don't get noticed sometimes. You're doing job interviews via Zoom. You're up against a lot of different people because it's a hot market. It's competitive. It's a dog-eat-dog world. And so I thought, you know what? We get a lot of questions on this. We get a lot of people wanting to hear more about, hey, how do I know if the place that I'm interviewing for is a good place for me to be? And that's a very legitimate question. And so let's start with this today before I go through the 6.5 signs. By the way, I'm very excited about having 6.5. I didn't feel like it were 7 red flags. I felt like it was 6.5 red flags. So welcome to Inside My Beautiful Mind. We'll see if it makes sense to you. And if it doesn't, I really don't care because I quite frankly did it for my own entertainment. But let's start with this premise. The job interview is as much for you as it is for the employer. Now, I think I say that, and I don't think that's a profound statement. However, most humans, most of you, have at some point gone into a job interview and you haven't acted that way. You've acted like, I've got to impress them. I've got to get them to ask me on another date. I've got to get them to put a ring on it, if you will. That's the way we look at it. And here's what happens. When you go into a job interview with that posture, like the whole point of it is for you to impress them to then get a job offer, you will many times miss key questions that you should be asking. You will miss signs that you should have seen. And you're going to join a growing amount of people who have changed jobs over the last 2 years as a part of this great resignation where we've had, this is a staggering number. Over the last 12 months, we've had over 4 million people per month change jobs. That is unbelievable. And it doesn't look to be slowing. And we're seeing now, as a result of those staggering numbers, let's call it well over 50 million people have changed jobs. A lot of people regretting the fact that they took a job, they left, they thought the grass was greener, and it's not. So today's teaching is to help you avoid that, because it really sucks for you to make a big change, like a job change, get there and go, oh man, this doesn't feel right. So let me give you 6.5 red flags to look for in the job interview. So you've got to be asking questions that matter to you. And in the questions that you ask and in the way that they are acting and interacting with you and other people in the process, you got to get those antennas up. You're paying attention. Here's some 6.5 red flags. First red flag, constant rescheduling of your interview, or disorganization around the interview details. Well, come over to building B, suite 205, and then you get 3 other emails. Well, actually, we're moving over to building C and suite 905, or whatever it is. Just constant change. I'm not talking about one. That's very reasonable. I'm saying you're noticing a pattern of rescheduling, disorganization to where you go, something's going on here. These people's pants are on fire. That's a red flag. I want to find out, why are their pants on fire? So that's a red flag, because if they act that way in the courting process, right? I used an old word there. I just caught myself. Everybody in their 20s is like, what did he just say? If they act that way in the dating process, imagine how they will act when you're married. Number 2, red flag. There's a lot of tension and disrespect and flippancy and frustration in the interaction of the people that they already work with. So let's say you're in a group interview or you're seeing some interaction when you're in their house, right? You go over to somebody's house for dinner. You've ever been over to somebody's house and they invite you for dinner and the couple's fighting all the time? You're like, oh man, this is gross. Can we quit this dinner? Can we fake some food poisoning? Or what can we do here? And so if you see that, again, if you see that in someone's house, you go, maybe things aren't so great in Camelot, right? And so we got to pay attention to that kind of stuff. Number 3, red flag. Your values and the company's values don't line up. Either in some of the questions you ask, you say, hey, what is the culture like here? And they begin to describe the culture, and you hear some things that they don't sit right with you. You got to pay attention to that. You don't ignore that and just kind of tap that down. You read news articles about the company and some of the things that are public. You read customer reviews. You read what vendors are saying about them, and it just doesn't align. There's a values disconnect. That's a red flag. Again, it's not going to change. Number 4 red flag. A lack of clarity or consistency in the answers to your questions. This is so good. This is why I teach in our How to Win the Interview, which is a free resource at kencoleman.com. It's a PDF. One of the things I outline in that PDF is if you're asking good questions, it is going to do 2 things for you. Number 1, it does make you look impressive because you've come prepared and you look insightful and you go, wow, this person's asking good questions. But it also is going to reveal some answers or reveal a lack of answers that is vital to you. So here's a rule of thumb. If you're asking direct questions, here's one of my favorites that I tell everybody to ask in an interview. You look at the potential hiring manager, you go, describe the kind of person that wins in this organization. And if they give you one of those answers that sounds like a politician on Meet the Press on Sundays, where it's like word salad, and this is not a political statement, this is just true, go watch Kamala Harris over the last 6 months. Anything the woman says, I don't know what she's saying, and by the way, she doesn't either. She doesn't say anything. And I'm not picking on her, just her. Pick any politician, Republican, Democrat, so don't send me your hate mail. I'm not going to read it. But politicians don't answer direct questions. Number 5, the bait and switch. They advertise the job as this. You get in there and you realize it's a totally different job. Run on that one. Number 6, inappropriate questions or comments. It just feels scuzzy and gross. Run. And then here's the 6.5. Here's the half. Lack of connection in the interview. Now, here's why I said it's a half of a flag. I want you to judge that on more than one interaction, right? Like, when I interviewed Alex, maybe I was having a bad day. Maybe I was tired. I don't know. I don't even remember. The point is that if there's not this great connection with the potential manager, I wouldn't just say, oh, automatic, that's a red flag. I'd want more interactions because anybody can have a bad day. They can have a lot going on. That's why I called it a half flag. But after 2 or 3 interactions, there's no real connection. You're going to be working with these people a lot. You may be spending more time with them than you do your family. So there you go. 6.5 red flags to watch out for. Now, coming up, big data to go through. 43% of Americans don't feel any connection at work. We'll unpack it next. So you just landed the new job. Congratulations. You've made it past the interviews and now it's time to onboard with excellence. That's why I created How to Stand Out at Your New Job. This free checklist will help you succeed from day one and may even help you get promoted. These practical steps set you up to add value, help your team win, exceed your leaders' expectations, and ultimately set you up for a successful transition. To get started, just go to kencoleman.com/new. All right, folks, I know the job search process, quite frankly, just feels like, even if we know we need to do it and we're ready to go, it just can feel yucky and sucky because it's a lot of work filling out resumes all the time and getting rejected or hearing nothing at all. That's why I endorse ZipRecruiter, and I talk about them every day. because it's a free service to you, and it's a phenomenal service that allows you to live your life. But I want to tell you, we literally got a great listener review. This is from Gabriella. She said, with Ken's advice, I checked out ZipRecruiter. And within days, I got a call from one of their recruiters, and then I had 2 interviews with a well-known company and got the job. I never thought I could get the gig. It's what I enjoy doing, and it aligns with my values. The cherry on top of the sundae was my starting salary, 45% more than what I currently make. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I don't want you to hear that if you go to ZipRecruiter, you're going to get 45% more. That's unbelievable. The average is about 14% more, but this is the reality. So check out ZipRecruiter.com/Ken, ZipRecruiter.com/Ken. It doesn't cost you a nickel. There is no catch. Companies pay ZipRecruiter for access to talent. That's why I endorse them. Fantastic company. ZipRecruiter.com/Ken. Okay. This is important stuff here. So a little bit more of a dramatic paper crinkle today. You need to be paying attention because this is a big deal. You know, we open up every show by saying, I want to help you win at work and in life. And underneath that statement, that isn't just something I say to make myself feel good. Underneath that is the foundational truth that you cannot separate your work life from your personal life. You cannot. No matter how hard you try. The work you and the personal you, they're the same person. And if you are struggling in one area in your personal life, it will undoubtedly affect you in your work life. Now, you can still perform and you can still achieve when crap's going on in your personal life. But come on, let's just be honest. We know it's much harder. And then the converse is true. Everything's going great in your personal life, but if you're in this toxic, crappy environment with a horrible leader, or you're around awful coworkers, or you're burned out, stressed out, confused, bored, you pick the negative work environment or characteristic, and you're in that 8, 9, 10 hours a day, well, folks, you're dragging that you-know-what home with you. And that's affecting the people you care about most. So it's high time that we begin to realize that, hey, the ideal scenario for me as a human being is to do work that I really love, that creates results that matter deeply to me, and I do it in a place that is healthy. Duh. And notice I've not even mentioned the paycheck yet. This is just so that I can be the best version of me for my wife, Stacy, for my 3 kiddos. This is common sense, and yet we kind of forget this. So this issue right here comes into play. Better Up, this is an article based on a new survey that they've done, a new study. And I'm going to read from some of this, and then I'll unpack this because this is very important. This could be you. 43% of Americans don't feel connected at work. In other words, and this is really key, they don't feel as though they belong. This is one of the primary human needs. We want to feel loved, yes, but we also want to feel like we belong. That's why we care about tribes so much, whether it be your favorite football team or the fans of a show or people that show up and hang out for hours on Saturdays to look at classic cars. We long to belong. And so we long to belong at work too, because it's a massive portion of our life. So this is the context that we're living in. We don't feel connected, and we're also living in a time where 63% of Americans reported generalized stress due to the pandemic-related uncertainty. Then we come out of the pandemic, and now what are we going into? Recession! You know, and all the media outlets are trying to scare the crap out of you about recession. There's all kinds of uncertainty. 42% of Americans reported symptoms of anxiety and depression. And the context was for a season, many people were working remotely. Now you got people working in a hybrid model, some remote, some in the office, some still staying in remote issues. And listen, Better Up is saying that's not me, so spare the criticism. I'm not going to read your hate mail. This is what Better Up said. And by the way, I do agree with them. And their studies prove this. This isn't an opinion of theirs. It's based on what they're seeing. They believe that remote work, for the length of time that people have had to do it, is eroding even the most outgoing workers' social skills. We're misreading social cues and miscommunicating. We've gotten more awkward. It's created its own microclimate of workplace connectedness issues. They found that remote workers have one fewer work friend on average than those working in the office, 4 fewer colleagues that they're friendly with, and can feel up to 19% less of a sense of belonging than their in-person or hybrid colleagues. However, this is not all about remote workers. Even those workers who are in hybrid or in-person environments aren't satisfied with their connectedness, reporting not having enough opportunities for friendship, community, or spontaneous connection. Leaders, pay attention. That's your job. Leaders, you got to create environments where people feel as though they can have spontaneous connection, a sense of community, a sense of belonging. Better Up defines connection as how many people we know at work and how close we feel to those people. And it has a huge impact on how we perform and grow at work in our careers. I believe that. So they've come up with 3 workplace connectedness profiles. I want to go through these quickly, and then I'm going to give you some what I believe are some practical steps to increase your connectedness. Number 1 profile is the close friend. Now, so they say that people fall into 3 workplace profiles as it relates to connectedness. So the close friend, 39% of workers surveyed said they prefer being friends with their colleagues. That's talking about hopes and dreams and personal stuff in your life. And by the way, that's reciprocal. It's not just people knowing that about you. It's about you knowing about them. More on that in a moment. The second profile is just the friendly colleague. That's not close, but we're friendly. And I would, this is the good old-fashioned acquaintance, right? We see somebody in the store. We're going to stop, say hi. We're not going to go, hey, let's play cards Tuesday night, but we're going to talk to them for 2 or 3 minutes in the grocery aisle, okay? So this is the friendly colleague. 50% of workers said they prefer being on a friendly term with coworkers. That's bantering over whatever, the football game, coffee in the office as you're at the station, whatever. The third profile is strictly professional. Hey, I don't want to know about you, and quite frankly, I don't want you to know about me, right? Strictly business. This is 11% of workers say they like to keep things professional with coworkers. They don't, I want to keep it here. Show me your TPS report. I don't want to know how your dog's doing, okay? And I get it. By the way, I wonder how many of those people were in programming. Hey, just kidding. A lot of programmers don't like to hang around people. They like the code. They don't like to communicate. Just telling you. All right, now, so how can we, if we feel as though, if you're in this bucket of 43% of Americans, and a lot of you listening and watching are, how do we begin to develop connectedness in the workplace? Because it's up to us. And I want to say that. The old phrase, if it is to be, it is up to me. So if I am to increase my connectedness, I've got to do it. So here are a couple things. Number 1, be interested in people. Look for opportunities, not for small talk, but opportunities to take the small talk and turn it into learning about them. Hey, how long you been here? What team are you on? Oh, great. What do you love most about what you do? Are you married? Do you got kids? What are your hobbies? People love to talk about themselves. It's their favorite topic. That goes for introverts as well. Second, look for opportunities to serve. It could be just as simple as you see someone struggling at the copy machine. Now, this is probably me in real life. I'm looking at it like it's an alien ship, and you go, oh, Ken's struggling over there. I'm going to go help him with his copies. And then, next, get involved in groups, social activities at the office. Even if you're not sure, I don't know anybody, just show up and smile and watch what happens. Did you know that just like a product, you have a personal brand? It's the image or impression others form about you based on your interactions. And whether we realize it or not, our personal brand impacts opportunities to grow in our careers. That's why our team created the Personal Brand Survey. It's free, and it will give you personal and professional feedback so you can own your strengths and uncover any blind spots holding you back. To get started,
Go to kencoleman.com/brand.
All right, coming up a little bit later in the program, I'm a little excited about this, so I'm just going to tease it, and you got to wait for it. Is there a Bourne conspiracy for real, not a movie? I'm going to unpack this, and we will unpack it by answering the question, did Matt Damon dupe us? I'll leave that right there. I can tell you this, the studio audience out there is already excited. They are smiling. They cannot wait. Thank you all. That was a good tease, was it not? Because you don't even know if you're going to like the content. I don't even know if you're going to like it. But boy, you're wondering, did Matt Damon dupe us? I know. I wonder myself. Here we go. First, it's time to coach some people up. Mary joins us in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Mary, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You bet. What's up today?
So I just want to ask you a question kind of about my career going forward. I am going into my 5th year as a high school teacher, and I have kind of known this has been the career I've wanted to be in since I was a little girl. I love helping people and mentoring students. But this past year has been really difficult because I work at a school that actually experienced a school shooting. This has obviously taken impact on my own mental health. Yeah. And has kind of made me question what I want to do with my future. Yeah. I didn't know if being in the place where it happened had any impact on my own mental health or my feelings about education. So I decided to look for a new job at the end of last year and did actually receive an offer from a different district. But I didn't feel safe with the school's safety precautions after the year I experienced. Sure. And it was not financially feasible for my husband and I. Mm-hmm. So kind of looking at going forward, I'm kind of obviously concerned about the state of public education. Yeah. And obviously teacher salary for my family. My husband and I kind of have the goal of becoming debt-free before we start a family. We did pay off, I paid off $20,000 of my student loans before we got married, and we've paid off $3,000 in our first year of marriage, and we have about $20,000 to go. So my question is, I really love teaching and I love working with students, but I don't really know if this is the best career for me to be in, but what can I do outside of public education that still allows me to do that?
Well, I've got some good news. You can do a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Do you believe that? It's okay if you don't. It's okay if you don't. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I believe that. I don't know my
You don't know.
options.
Yeah. You don't know where. Yeah. That's great. So first and foremost, you didn't ask me my direct opinion. We're kind of like, I wonder if it's my environment as it relates to the public school situation, where now, obviously safety has been an issue for quite some time. And you experience something that very few teachers, thankfully, have to experience. Mm-hmm. The fact that any teachers had to experience what you've experienced in the form of a school shooting, that a student, a parent, anybody goes through that, it speaks to the evil in this world. And I don't know how you could return to that environment. And I cannot even begin to understand what you, the kids, the parents, I can't. None of us can. It would be foolhardy to say that I could understand it. But if I allow myself, when I see these stories, to say, could I send my kids back into that school? Could I, as a teacher or an administrator, go back to that school? Could I, as a parent, drive back in the parking lot? The answer is I don't know. I could tell you this. I know that if I could, it would involve a tremendous amount of grief and anxiety and trauma, and I would have to see a professional to help me with the tools to be able to do that. And I absolutely believe in the mental health counseling and therapy. So I'm hoping that you've done that. Have you sought help?
Yeah, we actually did return to the same school for a few months of this school year. And during that whole time, I was diagnosed with PTSD and seeing a mental health therapist weekly.
Good. Okay. So On that issue, I don't think you should feel any shame or any judgment at all. And I think it's totally normal for that particular school to never be a healthy place for you, or certainly really, really hard. Now, let's talk about public education. Outside of the school shooting experience, I think you've probably been experiencing in the 5 years you've been in it, what I hear from a lot of teachers, that there's a lot broken about the system. And in some ways, it's very difficult for you to do the work that you really want to do, which is instruct students. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that piles on, right? And so then you go, okay, wait a second. I'm confused. I think you're in a state of confusion, and the where I can do it is going to be easily answered when you just start to look for all the different ways that you can instruct students. But the student definition now expands for you. It is no longer a K through 12 student only. Certainly can still be, but it is not limited to a K through 12 student. For instance, it could be adults that are looking for upskilling or learning. It could be an immigrant who is looking to get some education. It could be an adult who wants to go back and get a GED. It could be an adult who wants to take some online college courses or certification type courses. You could be in the higher ed environment where the jury's out on how many of higher ed students actually are there to learn versus have extended summer camp. Oh boy, I let that slip out. You understand what I'm saying? It could be corporate training. It could be HR instruction and training. So, there's all types of corporate training, small business training, government services that are training people. At the end of the day, you love instructing someone to the point where the light bulb goes off. Is that a good description of what you love about instruction?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I love just watching students or whoever grow and just take the knowledge that they have and run with it.
Yeah. So fun exercise real quick. I don't want you to think. I want you to just answer off the top of your head. You ready?
Yeah.
First thing that comes to mind, you're a teacher, so you have to participate and play by the rules. You can't think. You just got to blurt out. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. When I say to you, if there was only one group of people, a type of people, maybe people with a certain problem or challenge, you could only teach this group, it would be wildly fun, you'd be wildly successful and make the amount of money you needed to make. And you could choose just one group of people or a type of person that you would instruct. Who comes to mind while I've been ranting in that long setup to allow your brain to identify the person? Say it.
I think like future teachers is one thing I'm really passionate about.
That's a fabulous option. But let's not limit it to that. I want you to repeat the exercise for yourself. Imagine me saying it to you over the next 3, 4, 5 days, multiple times a day. Write it down, record it in your phone, type it in a note on your phone, and let's keep playing that out. Okay, if I take future teachers off the list, who would be the next group? Go, say it.
Probably high school students, like advanced high school students.
Okay, advanced high school students. But the public school environment, you're not a fan of. So what environment would you go to, or would you at least kick the tires in researching and auditing and see, could I do it? What's another environment where I could teach advanced high school students, not public school? Go.
Like a leadership training course.
Fantastic.
Or like mentorship training.
Fantastic. So, Mary, our exercise is complete. You've just come up with 3 really interesting ideas. So these become nothing more than a list of possibilities, and now we go do the process that I call clarify and verify. Okay? 2 little fun words that sound the same. Clarify, verify. Clarify is I'm going to go shadow. I'm going to go have coffee or lunch with somebody who does that type of work. And I'm going to learn everything I can about it, like I was doing a college term paper on this profession. That's the clarify. And as I clarify and I gather the information, watch what happens. I'm logically pulling information in. I am learning, gathering, and my brain is sifting through. Now watch, we take in knowledge. That's all the logic gathering. It comes in, and then it seeps down, and our heart goes, or ding, 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 ding. You tracking with me, Kath? Excuse me, Mary. You tracking with me? Okay, so that's all you've got to do right now. I'm going to give you the last little piece, and I'm teaching the audience too. Okay? So once we clarify and verify, and our heart goes ding, 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 that's something I'm really interested in. You maybe have 2 or 3 things. Now we dive into the qualification process. What do I need to learn? What do I need to do? How much is that going to cost? How long will it take? Folks, the This is how we get clear and get confident to move forward. Thank you for the call, Mary. If the thought of attending a networking event makes you break out in hives, you're not alone. And I'll let you in on a secret. Networking in the traditional sense doesn't work, but genuine connection is all about relationships. That's why we created Networking the Right Way. This free guide is the low-pressure, high-impact way to overcome the awkwardness, build real relationships, and turn your connections into opportunities. To get the guide, go to kencoleman.com/network. Oh, I feel like I had to make that sound with that. It felt like a little Alan Jackson or something there, you know? Felt like a little country bump there, so that's fun. Welcome back to the Ken Coleman Show, where the host has periodic bouts of ADHD and comments on things like the bump music. But thank you, Joe Hankin. Always fun. We're in Nashville, right? We should do a whole week where we just do different styles, you know what I mean? Like, we did that back in the old days, Joe. You know, we had like, I think one day we did like 1 week we did all country bumps and then all that kind of stuff. So
we could do that.
Yeah, let's do that. That might entertain folks, and it might not at all. All right, Kathy's up in Eaton Rapids, Michigan. Kathy, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you today.
Well, the pleasure's all mine. What's happening, Kathy?
I have been putting in a lot of applications, and I'm 62 years old, and I'm getting a lot of letters back.
Oh, yeah? And what's the theme of these letters?
You know, they've got somebody with more experience, that type of thing. And I've been doing accounts payable for probably at least 10 years, and I'm currently working for a professional agency doing contract work, and my contract's up at the end of August.
Are you doing accounts payable work?
Yes.
And are you applying for accounts payable type positions?
I've applied for many, and I've actually even branched out into accounts receivable. And actually, 20 minutes ago, I just got a call about an interview.
Great. That's fantastic. So how can I help you specifically today?
I'm just getting frustrated. I'm feeling like the age discrimination thing. And
is anybody telling you that?
No.
Are you making it? How apparent is it that you're 62 on your resume? Is it apparent at all?
I've got a lot of history, and I've even have toned it way down. So I'm going back about 12 years.
Well, that's fine. I like that strategy, by the way. You know, we have our own resume template at kencoleman.com, and it's very different, and it's based on creating a narrative for hiring managers because they spend about 7.5 seconds on average scanning your resume. And I teach that you should only put relevant experience on your resume anyway. Nobody cares that you took shop class in high school. You know, and while your mission trip was probably a really wonderful thing you did for people, nobody cares that you went on a mission trip to Guatemala in 1989 either. So the point is like impressing people on the resume is the wrong way to go. And in your cover letter, if I were you, I'd say, hey, I've limited my resume to specific experience for the job that and then I would shrink all that. I think it's a really good strategy. But here's the deal. I understand why a 62-year-old woman would think, you know what, I'm not getting calls back because I'm 62. Or quite frankly, a 62-year-old guy. I get it. And do I think that ageism exists? 100% I do. I think it's stupid. I'd hire a 62-year-old accounts payable, accounts receivable over a 32-year-old. I'd reverse ageism. Oh, boy. I want someone who's seasoned. I want someone who's a good locker room influence. And that's just the way I would lean. I would never do that. My point is I would, though. I'd go, wait a second. To me, 62 doesn't matter. 32 doesn't matter. Who's the best fit? But not every leader does it. Here's the good news. You got to call back. So you got that interview. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get over the ageism thing. I want you to accept it and go, it's real, it exists. But it doesn't matter as long as I don't allow it to matter. All right, this isn't just some rah-rah mental pump up like this is my mental state. No, you have to act as though it doesn't matter. And here's how you do it. You're 62. You've been working a long time. You got a lot of connections and a lot of relationships. True or false?
True.
All right. Mark Granovetter is a well-known sociologist who did a study many years ago that said most people get their jobs through acquaintances, not close personal connections. You got a lot of close personal connections. You have even more acquaintances. I wrote an entire book. It's behind my shoulder on the shelf called The Proximity Principle, which I could reduce the book to one concept, which is the right people plus the right places equals opportunity. So, Kathy, you got to keep putting yourself around the right people and in the right places. And submitting resumes and sitting back and waiting for someone to reach out to you is not the right strategy. I'm not getting on you. I'm trying to encourage you. Relationships, relationships, relationships. For every job you've applied to in the last 5 weeks, how many people could you have gone to and said, do you know somebody that knows somebody? Or do you personally have a one-to-one connection with somebody in that company? That's how we get in. They take your resume and hand it to the hiring manager while you do the other stuff. Are you wondering if you should leave your current job or stay put? You're not alone. That's why we created the Should I Quit My Job quiz. In just 5 minutes or less, this quiz will help you determine if you're at the right company and if you're in the right role. If you need to make a move, you'll even get practical next steps to keep you moving forward. Listen, stuck is a choice, and life is too short not to do what you were created to do. To take the quiz, go to kencoleman.com/quiz. All right, let me tell you something, folks. It is almost football time, and that makes Kenny Boy a happy camper. My boys play high school football, so what that means is I have a steady diet coming up of Friday night lights for the varsity. Chase will be playing 9th grade and JV games, so there may be, Joe, some weeks where I've got Monday and Tuesday football, or Thursday night football, which is with the kids, and then I got Thursday night football on Amazon Prime this year. Then I've got Saturday football for college football, and then I got Sunday football. This is a wonderful way to live life. So I love sports because of the classroom, the life classroom opportunities it brought me. And as a result, I love coaching. I love coaching people. I love the coaches of my life. And I can tell you this, no great football team, no organization has ever won without a great coach, great leadership. Everybody needs a coach. And one of my deep abiding passions is to bring a lot of people into this tent and coach as many as I can, which is not very many people every day, and it's only 5 or 6, 7, 8 minutes at a time, but to bring an army of men and women who are world-class coaches and allow you, the people, to connect directly with a coach that can take you from where you are to where you want to be. That's why we've launched a pilot program called Ramsey Career Coaching. We have a few spots left. It is a commitment, but it's an investment in you. And it always pays off if you do what these coaches help you do. Go to kencoleman.com/coaching to check it out. kencoleman.com/coaching. Okay, in just a minute, I'm going to unpack, is there actually a Bourne conspiracy? Not the movie, but a conspiracy. There might be. And so it begs the question, did Matt Damon dupe us? I will tell you, Matt Damon didn't dupe me. He may have duped you. We'll unpack that. But first, a really interesting trend I'm seeing, and I don't know if it's going to take on, if it's going to go countrywide, but it's interesting. Here's the headline, CNBC. More employers turn to company-wide vacation breaks to encourage worker well-being. So a few companies are offering a new perk to fight burnout and give employees a real break. Company-wide holidays when everyone is off at the same time. So understand, this is not your vacation time. So in addition to the paid time off, vacation, these companies are saying, we're going to take a week, 3 days, whatever it ends up being, where it's not July 4th holiday, it's not Christmas, it's not whatever. It's, we ain't working. Nobody's working. Like this week, the company's actually closed. It's fascinating. Now, of course, you got to communicate that to your customer. But if you could pull that off, the customer knows, hey, look, we're holding our calls. We'll be here next Monday. It's pretty interesting. One particular firm is a consulting firm, PwC. They're giving all 60,000 of their U.S. employees 2 annual company-wide week-long breaks, one in July and one in December. This is in addition to vacation time. PwC senior partner and the U.S. chair, Tim Ryan, said, no doubt about it, it's working. They shut the whole firm down. A recent Korn Ferry survey said that 63% of professionals say they'll be taking a shorter vacation this year. 58% said being away from the office stresses them out. Their top reasons were too much work due to decreases in staff and fear that work wouldn't be done well. And what's not mentioned is they're afraid they're going to get in trouble or get fired. It's fear-based. And so here's another quote Tim Ryan said. He said, he officially set the tone ahead of their July shutdown week. He posted on social media his plans to spend time with family and taking his dogs for extra long walks. He said, it's a way of me saying it's okay. We're serious. We want you to do this. It's giving permission in both words and actions. It's hugely important, and that's why we did it. Pretty interesting stuff, leaders. I would consider, if you feel you can pull it off, they're getting rave reviews from their team and their customers. So it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. And whether it's the amount of time or whatever, here's the message. They're going out of their way to show value to their people. You want to keep people and you want to attract new people, take care of the people you have, and you'll never have to worry about getting the people you need. They'll become your greatest ambassadors. So there you go. Okay, here it is. Is there a born conspiracy? Did Matt Damon dupe us? Here's the headline. Fox Business crypto CEO pleads guilty in a $21 million fraud scheme using investors' funds, that's some of you, for his Hawaii condo. There's a special place that you know where for this kind of horrible bossery. This is just straight up dishonesty and cheating. Self-described blockchain evangelist pleaded guilty to securities fraud on Friday. He raised a $21 million investment of initial coin offering through a series of false and misleading statements. He further admitted, this guy's name, by the way, is Michael Allen Stollery. That sounds skeezy. I'm not going to trust a guy named Michael Allen. If you got 2 names and you go by Michael Allen, I don't trust you. And this bears out. So anyway, he said he used the personal funds for the Hawaii thing. So there you go. And this is the CEO of Titanium Blockchain Infrastructure Services. Now, I'm having a little bit of fun with this, but you go, where's the Matt Damon born conspiracy? Let me show you a commercial that has been splashed everywhere for quite some time. Let's roll this, Nathan.
With those who almost adventured, who almost achieved, but ultimately, for them it proved to be too much. Then there are others.
Uh-oh.
The ones who embrace the moment.
Yeah. Matt Damon.
And commit.
Jason Bourne telling me I can climb mountains.
And in these moments of truth,
oh,
these men and women.
Oh, the Wright brothers.
These mere mortals.
Mere mortals.
Just like you and me.
I don't know what those two had to do with anything. They're just dancing in a club. Oh.
They calm their minds.
Astronauts.
And steel their nerves.
Oh, yeah. Strong people.
With 4 simple words that have been whispered by the intrepid since the time of the Romans.
Here it is.
Fortune favors the brave.
Oh, fortune favors the brave. So here's Matt Damon, who we all love and respect because he's Jason Bourne, very serious. Lots of images telling us. And then what is it all about? Crypto. So no matter what you've heard, there's people who are cowards, who gave up on dreams and goals. And then there's these people over here, minus the couple in the club. I still don't get that. It's the weirdest part of the entire commercial. I get the mountain climbing, the explorer, and then there's some dude hitting on a girl in a club, like Night at the Roxbury. I don't get it. Anyway, here's my point. They use celebrities, crypto, and this very unregulated, it's a wild frontier out there. And by the way, I'm not anti-crypto. Here's the point I'm making. Early on, people would ask us, Dave Ramsey, we'd be on the air together, we calls it. And I just said, look, it's really early. This is the wild frontier. And I think there's a huge opportunity for people to get bilked. For all of you in your 20s and 30s, it's a fancy word meaning duped. And if you don't know what duped means lied to, cheated. Why wouldn't you trust Matt Damon? I watched it the first time I saw it. I was like, fortune favors the brave. I got to buy some crypto or I'm a wimp. But folks, this stuff works. I mean, this is good old-fashioned storytelling. And there's a lot of you out there. I know my demographic on YouTube. I'll speak specifically to those of you on YouTube. You're young and you're going, hey, man, I want to get in early on this. And I'm all for getting in early on something, but do your research. Protect yourself. If you're going to speculate cautiously. Small. I mean, listen, this clown jumped in on the craze. He's a fraud, and he admitted it. And how many young people, old people got in on this? And I'm not blaming Matt Damon. I'm having a little bit of fun with this. But again, if you're willing to give somebody your money because Jason Bourne told you that fortune favors the brave, if that's enough to get you to act on something that's a poor financial decision or risky at best, slow your roll. Slow your roll. Got to be careful on this stuff. We don't know where crypto's going. And let me just say this. I can't stand the federal government. I hate big government and regulations. But we got to be careful. Fortune favors the brave. Fortune favors the smart and the wise. This is the Ken Coleman Show. Press on.
Thanks for listening to the Ken Coleman Show. For more, you can find the show on demand wherever you listen to podcasts and watch the show on YouTube. You can also find Ken across all social media by following @Ken Coleman.